Namaste students, welcome back to your social science class. Today we will be moving on to the history side chapter 9, South India. The important learning objectives of this chapter is we will be studying about the growth of the Shatavahanas in South India, their achievements, administration, art and architecture. We'll also study about the achievements of Shatakarani. Then the Kadambas were the first to establish an empire in Karnataka. The establishment of Ganga dynasty, their contribution to art and architecture and literature, and we'll also learn to locate the areas of the Shatavahanas, Kadambas and Gangas in a map. The Vindhya Mountains, children, it separates the Vindhya Mountain. It separates the north and south India. The area between the Vindhya Mountains and the Kanyakumari in the south, we call this as the South India, or we call it as the Deccan region. The important dynasties which ruled over this, we find that we are having the Shatavahanas, we had the Kadambas and Chalukyas, the Ganga, the Rashtrakutas and the Pallavas who ruled the South Indian region. Today we will move on to the Shatavahanas who ruled from 230 BCE to 220 CE. So the Shatavahanas is also referred to as the Andhras in the Puranas were in the ancient Indian dynasty based in the Deccan region. Most modern scholars believe that Shatavahana rule began in the last 2nd century BCE and lasted until the 3rd CE. Although some assign the beginning of their rule to as early of 3rd century based on the Puranas, but uncorroborated by archaeological evidence. The Shatavahana kingdom mainly comprised the present day the Andhra Pradesh, the Telangana and the Maharashtra at different times. Their rule extended to the parts of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and even Karnataka. The dynasty had different capital cities at different times, including the Pratisthana, that is the Paitan, and Amaravati, that was called as the Dharani Kota. Now let us know the origin of this dynasty. The origin of this dynasty, children, is uncertain, but according to the Puranas, the first king overthrew the Kanva dynasty. In the post-Maurya era, the Shatavahanas established peace in the Deccan region and resisted the onslaught of the foreign invaders. In particular, their struggles with the Shaka Western satraps went to for a long time. The dynasty reached its zenith under the rule of Gautamiputra Shatakarni and his successor Vashishthiputra Pulamavi. The kingdom fragmented into smaller states by the early of 3rd century. Now let us move on to the foundation of the Shatavahana dynasty. The Shatavahana dynasty was founded by the Simhamukha, is mentioned as the first king in a list of royals in the Shatavahana inscription at the Naneghat. The various Puranas state that the first king of the dynasty ruled for 23 years and mention his name variously as Shishuka, Sindhuka, Chismaka, Chiparaka, and these are believed to be the corrupted spellings of Simhoka resulting from the copying and recopying of the manuscripts. And we also see that the uh, Simhuka cannot be dated with earlier, with certainly based on the available evidences. Based on the theories, the beginning of the Shatavahana rule is dated from 271 to 30 CE. According to the Puranas, the first Andhra king was overthrown by the Kanva dynasty. And the next, the Simhuka became an independent king in 220 CE and made the Srikakulam as his capital. And we can see the different now we will move on to the Gautami Putra Shatakarani. The Gautami Putra Shatakarani was a ruler of the Shatavahana Empire in present day Deccan region of India. He was mentioned as the important and the greatest ruler of the Shatavahana dynasty. He ruled in the first or the second century, although his exact period is uncertain. His reign is being dated variously. We can see that he had done away with the bitter enemies of the kingdom, the Shakas beyond the borders of India. The Shalivahana Shaka is supposed to have been inaugurated by him. He expanded his kingdom to include not only the Konkan, Birar, Sahurashtra, and Malwa, but also new places. He had got the title such as Tri Samudra, Toya, Pitaya Vahana, and Shatavahana, Kaulya, Kaulesha, Pratishtha, Panakara, and Yagna Sri Shatakarani was the last king of the Shatavahana dynasty. During his time, on account of the continual attacks of Shakas, the empire stood devastated. During the Shatavahana rule, the king was supreme. The kingdom was divided into the provinces called as the Janpada for the purpose of administration, and officers had been appointed to look after them. The cities and villages were looked by the self-governing institutions. During this period, children, there was no discrimination on the basis of the Varna system. Even the woman could hold the high offices and high status in the societies. Apart from this, we find that there were different occupations during this time, like farmers, goldsmiths, merchants, carpenters, weavers, medicine men, fishermen, cobblers, like this. They were occupational associations. These associations emerged as the commercial and trade organizations. There were there were encouragement for even for foreign trade, and the important trade centers during the Shatavahana period. We can see that they were Nasik. We can see Nasik here. Then we are having the Baroj, the Bhatkal, and the Kalyan. All these were the trading centers of the Shatavahana period. And the Shatavahanas who followed the Vedic tradition, and they also encouraged the Jainism and Buddhism, and they believed in harmony. They prompted to the art, literature, and education. Literature was written in the Prakrit language of both the scholars and common people, and Ghata Sapta Shati was written by Hala as an example of this. We can see, children, this is about the Gautami Putra Shatakarani, about his life. Next, we see that we see that we are also having the inscriptional sources like the Nasik cave inscriptions, the Sanchi inscription of Shatakarani the first, the Naneghat cave inscription of uh, Naganika, Naneghat cave status inscription, Nasik cave inscription of the Bhattapalika, Nasik cave inscription of Gautami Putra Shatakarani, and Karle cave inscription of Gautami Putra Shatakaranis. So we also see that even they built the stupas, like we are having the Amaravati stupa, the Nagarjuna Kanda stupa, caves 9 and 10th containing the Ajanta paintings were patronized by the Shatavahanas. The Goli, the Jagihapita, Ganthasthala, Batti Porolo, and Sri Pravatam. All these are the stupas which were done during this time of Shatavahanas. And we also see that the the Ajanta and the Amaravati paintings were created during the time of the Shatavahanas. The temples, viharas, the temple, viharas, and the Chaityalayas, we can see here. The Chaitalaya were also constructed. A Chaitya Graha was built in Karle. We can see here, built in Karle by the Banavasi merchant Bhutapala. During this period, the Shatavahanas, the Kannada land was prosperous and had adventurous and able administrators. They had enriched the Indian culture by their contribution. So we can see that we are also having the Karle, the Karle, or what do you tell, the Karle caves. It has only two caves which has the such lion pillars in front of the Karle. You can see here. And also we are having the largest Chaitya Griha in India, the stupas, which is cylindrical drum shaped, and also a huge lion pillars in front of the Chaitya Gruha. Only two caves have this design, Karle and Kanheri. The stupas are in cylindrical drum shape. A stupa with a wooden umbrella and a top unharmed of this date columns are strong and bulky even to this day, children. And we are having the Chaitya arch, where you can see that the Chaityas normally had a great horseshoe archway with a wall screen below. There was a sun window, and also in the center in the archway to let the light in. The first horse arc was seen at the Bhaja. The sun window is semicircular aperture divided into the lunets using the carved wood transoms and wooden braces. We see this is the evolution of the Chaitya hall, how they constructed, and this is the Chaitya Gruha, what we are having. So, in the next class, children, we will study about the Kadambas. Thank you, children.